welcome to the official first episode of Why I Love Wrestling. So I figured we'd start on the first one, kind of just going into my journey with with professional wrestling, and just how it all began for me, and the long journey that it has been for me as a fan growing up. I think like a lot of people, I started to watch pro wrestling, WWE, as as a kid, like all of us did. I grew up on the John Cena's, on the Shawn Michaels, the Undertakers, the Triple H's, and I was just hooked ever since, even after I found out that it was fake, which it isn't, but it is, but it isn't. That's typically when people kind of stop, watching, but not me, because that was all I wanted to watch. It was all I wanted to do, I've been watching pro wrestling now for about 15 years or so, and yeah, it's my main thing. It's the first thing that I will tell people, and yeah, I think for a time it was all I had, really, and I think it's a big factor into who I am right now as a person. So yeah, what does pro wrestling mean to me? I've always loved the entertainment. I've always been a fan of just telling a story and capturing the hearts and the imagination of your audience, and then you combine that with just the characters and the fantastic athleticism and the bravery and the courage, and yeah, and you've just got something there that's just really special to me. It's really hard to explain. Why do I like pro wrestling, so much? It's hard to explain, because if you get it, you get it, and if you don't, you don't. And that's, in a way, that is the beauty of it.
What's the biggest ick?
People like wrestling.
Go fuck yourself!
And we're back. So I think as a kid, my favourite superstars, obviously, it was Shawn Michaels, it was John Cena. I was terrified of the Undertaker. But yeah, wrestling became my life. Wrestling became who I am. And from a young age, I wanted to become a pro wrestler, until I didn't, because I realised, oh wait, that hurts a lot. But I think now, 22 years old, I'm at a point in my life now where I only want to do one thing, and every now and then I get that itch. I get that itch, and I just want to wrestle. It's all I want to do. Just the thought of the pain and the thought of just doing the most absolute basics. It looks easy on TV. It looks easy, just doing a bump, just doing, a double down, just running back and forth on on the ropes. It looks so easy, but it's not, and it hurts you so much that it excites me in a way because I want to feel that pain, you know. I want to learn. I want to be bad, just so I can then learn amongst the absolute greats. You know, I just believe I love pro wrestling so much to the point where I believe, you know, I don't need to do anything else as long as I can say I wrestled one match or I did that and I did that. That's all I want. That's all I want. And I know it is a long road, and I get that. And I'm more than happy to earn everything. But people ask me, you know, why do I watch wrestling? Why do I love WWE? You know, why? And it's all I got. It's all I have. You know, I'm not gonna lie. You know, I wasn't the most, you know, popular guy in school. You know, I wasn't the most, you know, talkative or the most active guy. I'm not gonna lie. Um, you know, and obviously that came with the struggles that it obviously does, you know, when you're in a high school, you know, and I'm cool with that, you know. But wrestling was my escape. Wrestling was my escape from everything in life. You know, if it's a pandemic, wrestling for 2 hours a week was my escape. Whether it was my life crashing down, you know, wrestling was my escape. Whether it was, you know, anything, you know, my education just going absolutely nowhere. Wrestling was my escape. Wrestling was there for me when nothing else really was, and I feel like I owe something back. I just hope at some point I get that chance. But you talk about, you know, when I was younger, and you talk about when I was a kid. This actually is a special place because you know, here on these grounds, on this grass here, this is where me and my mates would we would wrestle every week, you know, and we'd pretend to be our favourites, you know, and that to me was everything. You know, that was my adrenaline. That was, you know, other kids, and they were going out partying or whatever. I don't know what they did. I don't know. But to me, that was the best thing in the world. That was exactly every week for just a few hours. Hell, it could be all day. We would be here all day. That is my childhood. Obviously, we don't do it anymore. You know, we are a bit too old to do that. But still, it's that itch, you know. So I love professional wrestling because it allows me to be me. It allows me to be who I know I am deep inside, and I know a lot of people don't see that side and haven't seen that side, and you know, I think that's just life. You know, I don't. You know, there's choices that I made. There's definitely regrets, but at the same time, you know, I really wouldn't change anything. You know, so yeah, I love professional wrestling because of the good and the bad. There've been times where, you know, I've been down, I've been weak, I've been broken down, and wrestling has picked me back up. when I've lost people, when I've lost, pro wrestlers who I held very close to me. Wrestling has been there to pick me up, and you know, um, yeah, and one day, I just want to be able to pay back and contribute, because pro wrestling, it's all I have.
Now I gotta split.